All right, we're big, we're bold, and we're giving you some big, bold predictions today in the studio here with Jim, aka the Maverick. What's going on, Jim?
I'm just excited to be here, just ready to talk about some crazy predictions for the upcoming season.
All right, so Jim's got a list of 3 bold predictions, and for me, I want to do it on the fly. I didn't want to plan anything. I've got bold predictions up in my brain. I got a ton of them, so I'm just gonna rhyme them off just off the top of my head. But Jim's came prepared. I'm doing it on the fly, and I think it's gonna make it a little more interesting because we're going to see how it plays out. So, big bold predictions for 2023 fantasy football, things that, don't seem viable right now. It's like, there's no way that would actually happen, but it actually would. Now, last year, I said Cooper Kupp would get hurt. He's going to bust. Don't draft him. You're nuts, Joe. He's a number 1 wide receiver. Last year, I said Jonathan Taylor. Do not draft Jonathan Taylor. Pinnacle year, 18 touchdowns. Not going to happen. New quarterback, decline happening. He busted, right? Oh, how about the Kenneth Walker thing? How about Kenneth Walker over Rashad Penny? Called that as well. So, yes, they're bold, but they're also viable, right? So I don't know how viable Jim's are, but mine are going to be viable. So, Jim, do you want to add anything to this? How bold are your predictions?
They're daring. I think they're very daring, but they are in the realm of realism. I'm not going to go ahead and say that Houston is going to win the Super Bowl because that is not going to happen.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, so I think they're grounded in reality as a possibility, and I think there's a good chance that these predictions are going to come true. So
Jim and I have this ongoing joke all the time. It's like, we're not very fast runners or sprinters. So first bold prediction should be Jim this year outdoes the 40-yard dash time versus the top running back drafted this year. How about that, Jim? What about you?
I will give you a 100% chance of that not happening.
We still have to pull the video because we always talk about this at the end of this show. So I want to talk at the beginning of the show. There's a video of Jim.
There's no video. There's no video. I was just there. We just had a a phone and we just timed it, and it was like that. But
Jim was out with his kids doing a 40-yard sprint. This was not videotape, but we need a video. That's what I want.
We do. Yeah. So I got to go there again and do it 10 years later. It'll be much better this time. I'm sure my speed will be much better this time.
All right. People are sick of hearing about you and I. Let's talk about your first bold prediction here for 2023.
All right. Well, I got to say, man, when I heard Odell Beckham signing that deal with the Ravens, I'm like, number 1 wide receiver for 2023. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, no, it will not happen. It's not going to happen, especially on the Ravens. It's not going to happen. But I do have to say that I do think Derek Carr is going to win the NFC South this year. He has significantly improved his situation. Just think about it. Last year, he was in a league which had Patrick Mahomes, Herbert, and Russell Wilson, and he's played against those 3 guys 2 times a year.
Right.
Now he moves to a league where it's Baker Mayfield, Desmond Ritter, and a rookie. I'm like, dude, he has seriously improved his situation. So I think he is. I think the Saints are definitely going to win the division. They're going to go into the playoffs. They're going to be feeling good, and they're going to lose the first game in the playoffs. But they will make the playoffs. So that's my first prediction.
This is interesting because everybody said last year, because Derek Carr had Adams, Waller, all these guys, that he was going to crush it. He again still has not won a playoff game in his entire career. So, he had all these excuses. Now the excuses are like, it's been 9 years, no play, like 9 years.
Right.
So he's got no excuses this year. You're absolutely right. He has to win a playoff game at least and win the division.
He has to go. I'm not predicting he's going to win a playoff game, though. I'm just saying he's going to win the division. So
that's true. A division shouldn't be hard at all at this point.
Right, exactly. So, and then I also think, as part of the same thing, I think Justin Fields and the Bears are going to win the NFC North. I think they're going to take that. They're going to take that division. Okay, so I very much like the upside there.
So you're doing more football predictions. I'm doing more fantasy predictions too, as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna mix it up. So we're not on the same page there. So, okay, just football predictions. So I'm gonna do fantasy here because again, I'm doing it off the top of my head. So I've got that versatility. So I've got one here for you. Christian McCaffrey is like the first player off the board this year. Him and Eckler, it's kind of like a toss up.
Sure.
Christian McCaffrey gets hurt and finishes outside the top 30 amongst running backs. That's it. I know you can't predict injuries, but history shows me that Christian McCaffrey is not a durable player, and history shows me the 49ers running backs get hurt a lot. I'm going with the side of history and knowing that Christian McCaffrey had his last hurrah last year. I know I've talked about this in a lot of videos, but and it is bold because he is, consensus number 1, 2, 3 pick off the board. I'm saying he finishes outside the 30. Like, he's not going to have a good year, period. What do you think? Crazy?
Well, I gotta say, I'm not quite as down on McCaffrey as you are. I do agree that he's probably not going to achieve what he did last year, but the dude could be so productive just because of what he does through the air and on the ground. So, and I've talked about the issues with the quarterbacks on that team, how up in the air that is. I don't think he'll finish outside the top 30, but I could definitely see him falling from where his underperforming his draft position.
Well, injuries count, right? I'm factoring in injuries, and this is the debate.
Sure, and he could totally be injured. I mean, that's the dude. Again, he only played before last season 10 games in the prior 2 seasons, so it could definitely happen.
Well, here's the thing. Here's where the hypocritical stuff happens. So when I say like Cooper Kupp got hurt, he like I said, he busted as per se. People are like, injury doesn't count. Injury doesn't count. Joe. Injury doesn't count. Okay, so why isn't Cooper Kupp the number 1 wide receiver this year? Because you guys said injury doesn't count, and Cooper Kupp was kind of on pace to be a number 1 wide receiver again, but injury sidelined him, right?
Right.
And now he's not number 1. Same with Taylor, right? Injury doesn't count. Injury doesn't count. Injury doesn't count. Okay, well, injury was what kind of held him back for the most part. Why isn't Taylor number 1 again this year? Why? Because injury happened. So if injury doesn't count, these guys should be number 1 again, but they're not. So injury does count. Right. So you guys are lying. That's the bottom line. I want to get that.
Yeah, when you mentioned that the other day, I watched one of your videos and you mentioned that. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? That's a good point. That is a definite good point. So yeah.
Okay, so your turn now. Let's just keep going with bold prediction.
This one is more of a fantasy prediction. Okay. So but it's also just regular football prediction. But my prediction is the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to the Super Bowl this year. So I've got Trevor Lawrence is going to be a top 5 quarterback. Yep. I've got Calvin Ridley is going to be the number 1 wide receiver this year.
Wow.
And like I said, this is the formula. This is how you build a Super Bowl contender team. You get your franchise quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. And while he's still on his rookie contract, you surround that guy with massive amounts of talent. And they've done that. They brought in Ridley. They got Christian Kirk. They got Evan Ingram. They drafted Etienne in the first round of the year he was drafted. This offense is stacked, and I think they are going to just kick butt in the AFC this year. So I'm very excited to see what they can do, and that's my prediction there.
Yeah, and the thing is, you get them for a decent value, and they've got so much upside going for them. So yeah, I'm actually really high on Trevor Lawrence this year. I'm really excited about him, and I like the value for him.
Yeah. What do you think about Calvin Ridley? Do you think he has the potential to finish number 1?
I think the talent is there, and I believe in Lawrence. So I don't know about number 1. Maybe in top 10 for sure. But again, you've got the ring rust, the cage rust of what we say in UFC. He's got the field rust. Is he going to come back rusty? That's a big question mark. But I saw some trading videos. He's looking pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm like I said, he's done it before. I mean, Calvin Ridley has shown what he can do, and now he's got this superstar young quarterback, and I think they're just gonna blow up together. It's gonna be great.
And didn't he have those big touchdown seasons with like Julio Jones there? Like he was like kind of the 2, wasn't he, when he had those?
Yeah. I mean, it was an older Julio, but yeah, Julio was still super productive. So yeah, but he's. I don't think he's going to be any problem coming in as a number 1 on this team.
Yeah, the upside's definitely there. All right, I got one here. It's a bold prediction. A second-year player, wide receiver, either an Olave or a Garrett Wilson, or a Drake London, or who else is second year here? Anyone from last year's second year, okay?
Sure.
Or a rookie wide receiver, depending on where they land, will finish ahead of Cooper Kupp's the second wide receiver this year. they'll finish ahead of Cooper Kupp this year in fantasy points. So
Oh, really?
second year wide receiver or a rookie wide receiver will come in and finish ahead of Cooper Kupp in fantasy points this year. And injuries count. If Cooper Kupp gets hurt, that's part of it. So yeah, that's a bold prediction. But I think,
well, I gotta say, I do have Cooper Kupp as a bounce back player this year. I think, and when he was healthy last year, he was super productive. He was just continuing what he had done the year before. And just the fact that he got hurt and he didn't play, and then he wanted to come back, but the team was already kind of done with the season. They weren't going to make the playoffs, so they didn't bother. So he could have come back at the end of last year, and he didn't. So I do very much like Cooper Kupp this year because of that, especially if Stafford is healthy and playing again. That's the big question mark with him.
So I'm not sold on Stafford. I think he had his last hurrah. Like, he was done in Detroit, washed. They built a team around him, wins the Super Bowl. That was it. Like, he had blown his load back in Detroit, and then somehow he found more of a load and he blew it on the Super Bowl. He's done. Like, he is beyond done. I'm not so. And not only that, what if I took every pass that I passed to Cooper Kupp? Defenses are going to catch on. They started catching on at the end. Injury happened. I don't know, man. I'm not sold on this duo again. I'm not.
Well, the fact is there really isn't a two. There isn't a wide receiver two on that team. So of course Cooper Kupp's going to soak up all the targets. And we'll see what happens during the draft. We'll see I would love it if they drafted spend high draft capital on getting another wide receiver in there, because Allen Robinson is definitely done. And I mean, with Stafford, the issue is he's got a neck injury, and that's the problematic aspect of him. And if he can come back from that, and we've seen players, Peyton Manning had a neck injury when he was taken in by the Broncos. You can come back from that. So that's what I really want to see during the preseason is Stafford back? Is he out on the field without the red vest on, so he can take hits and see what happens there.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with my bold prediction here. I'm going to pick on Eckler and Christian McCaffrey again.
Okay.
I got to do it. I'm just not sold on these guys finishing at 1 and 2. I'm not sold where they're at. I think they're inflated. I think they had their pinnacle years. I think they're even lucky they had the years that they did at the point of their careers that they're at. So I've got a bold prediction. A Breece Hall, second-year player running back, a Bijan Robinson, or another rookie running back coming in, either a rookie or a second-year player. I'm doing the same thing here with with wide receiver. I'm going to say a Breece Hall, a Bijan Robinson, a young, maybe even a Tyler Algier, and injuries do count, right? Will finish, Kenneth Walker, easily. Will finish ahead of both Christian McCaffrey and Austin Eckler with ease. I know you're saying that's not really bold because Kenneth Walker's pretty much top 10. Okay, that's fine. Breece Hall, someone like that will finish. Second-year running back will finish ahead of Eckler and CMC. They will both bust significantly, and I can't wait to laugh about it.
Yeah, and we've talked about the age of both these players. The fact that McCaffrey is 27 and Eckler is 28, and 28 is the drop dead date for me as far as running backs are concerned. And the risk of a decline is not only going to be high. I mean, it's really high for Eckler, in my opinion. Like I said, I feel a little bit better about Christian McCaffrey, but certainly they could fall off that cliff. With the amount of usage that they've had over the past few years, you could see that happening.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would be on board with that. And we've seen all these rookie running backs come in and they get used, they get usage, and that's the exciting part. Is with wide receivers and quarterbacks are terrible in their rookie year. Doesn't matter how much draft capital they have, they're terrible. And with wide receivers, it's usually kind of a ramp up. They're usually better the second half of the season than the first half. But with running backs, they're like, here's the ball, go. And they get usage right away. So I could definitely see these young guys, these rookies coming in and eventually having a better season than these two superstars. So sure.
All right. Do you have another one? I think you had two.
I do. I have my third one. And a couple of weeks ago, we had that whole show about aging players, about how old a lot of players are getting, these superstars, especially in the running back room. A lot of older players now And we had a list of guys that were all over that are age 28 or older right now. We got names: Austin Eckler, we just talked about, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Cordarrelle Patterson, Gus Edwards, Jamal Williams, and Raheem Mostert. My prediction is this. Over half these guys are not going to be in the league next year at this time.
I like
they
it.
are, they are gonna bust. Their career is going to be over. I mean, last year, if I had said that Zeke Elliott, Leonard Fournette, and Kareem Hunt weren't going to be in the league anymore, you would have said I was crazy. You said, no way. Those guys are superstars coming off of great seasons. I tell you what, man, the age cliff is real, and it happens, and it's going to hit this group this year hard. So be careful. Be wary about all those guys. So
yeah, definitely. And the last thing here, I was just looking at some stuff here. I had the same kind of feeling with that type of bold prediction with running backs. You're not going to hear of Dalvin Cook after this year. I think the Vikings are already talking about getting rid of Dalvin Cook or not signing him on again, right? He's past his prime. He's had his last hurrah. Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, all these guys. Similarly to the wide receivers, I think, bold prediction here, last year's Davante Adams was the last year he has a significant top 5 fantasy season. He's currently sitting number 5 amongst wide receivers. I think he comfortably finishes outside the top 10, and you will never see him as a top 5 receiver again. It's the end of Adams. Last year was his last hurrah because he'll never have a quarterback that he had with Aaron Rodgers. He got lucky last year, got the volume because Waller and Renfro were hurt. That's the only reason he thrived. Okay, Derek Carr was not a phenomenal quarterback. So now he goes to Garoppolo. This is the end. Last year was the last year you saw an amazing top 5, maybe even a top 10 season out of Davante Adams. He is done. That's my prediction. What do you think?
Well, yeah, he is 30, and that is typically sort of the line when receivers start to decline. And although they don't decline as fast as running backs, they still hit that summit like in their late 20s, and then it's like a very steady, rapid decline down over the next few years. So, yeah, I mean, I could definitely see a decline coming from Davante Adams. And, yeah, you see all these older players that they're all complaining because they can't lock up long-term deals. Like, look at Austin Eckler talking about how, why doesn't anyone want to sign me on a 3-year contract? It's like, dude, you're 28. You know, it's not going to happen, man. And so, yeah, I mean, I could
not even getting signed. He's younger and he's better than Eckler. He came in as a top round 2 pick for round 1 pick. Eckler was undrafted free agent.
Right.
He's younger and he can't lock in a big deal. He's going to be holding out, I think.
Yeah, exactly. We're hearing talk about holdouts now. And I've already said, I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to play on a 1-year deal. He's not. He's absolutely not. And we've seen players sit out. They're just like, fine, I'm not going to play, and just sit out until they get traded. Yep. And so that is definitely a significant risk you've got to take into effect when you're talking about someone like Saquon this year. Now, is will he do that? And do you want to take that risk? Frankly, you know, I'd rather take Jonathan Taylor than Saquon Barkley. You know, and if we're talking about wide receivers, I'd rather take CeeDee Lamb or, you know, over someone like Davante Adams, because I think there's a higher ceiling for CeeDee. CeeDee's still ascending. He's still going up, you know, whereas we've probably seen the best we've ever seen out of Davante Adams, and now it's just going to start to decline. So, yeah, and that's what you want. You want upside. That's what we're talking about with fantasy football. You want the upside players.
Definitely. So there you have it. Some big, bold predictions here, Jim. Any other notes here you want to talk about bold predictions? I mean, I think these are all viable.
Yeah, I don't have any other bold predictions at this time, but if anybody out there in the audience, if you guys got a bold prediction, man, put it down below. Let's see what you got.
All right, yeah, drop it below, guys. Well, thanks, Jim. We're going to see you weekly here on the show. We are getting close to that fantasy football season. Make sure you guys get 16-round drafts. So you should link it below. Subscribe, thumbs up, drop some comments. Keep the content rolling. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, the draft is just like 2 weeks away, man. I'm super excited.
Yes, we are so close to that. Everything is going to it's like an on-ramp. Boom. As soon as that draft happens, full speed ahead. Fantasy football 2023.
Absolutely. All right. Have a good one, counselor.
We're out.